Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this Stern Rawhide pinball machine, and we have done several videos on it so far, and we're about halfway through the troubleshooting of it, and we've been picking off problems as they arose on the game. Now, when we last stopped, we had an issue where when the ball lands in the lights lit features hole, it doesn't light the lit feature. So the lit feature right now is lights, spinners, and bumpers. So it should light these up and the spinner light up, but it does not. So we're going to check that out and see if we can track down on the schematics what is the problem, and then we'll keep moving along as we troubleshoot each item that pops up that we need to repair on the game. So current problem is, watch the previous video where we fixed a bunch of stuff, but our current problem is when the ball lands in here, it does not light the spinners and the bumpers when it's illustrated that it should, right? So let's check out the schematics. Okay, so you might wonder, well, how are you going to figure out what to look at on the schematics? It's this big sheet with all this stuff on it. How are you going to figure out where to look? Like, just where do we start, right? So we've got the specific problem. When the ball lands in that hole, it's supposed to turn on, according to the light, the pop bumper lights and the spinner light, and then make it where the pop bumper's worth 1,000 and the spinner whatever, right? But those didn't come on. So that's usually a good place to start, is with the actual lights. So you look on the schematics. Here's the two bumper lights and the spinner 1000 when lit light. So what makes those turn on? Well, it's connected on one side to power and over here to power. And then there is a switch in the middle on the spinner relay. So whenever the ball lands in that hole, apparently it's supposed to turn on the spinner relay. If that spinner relay were to come on, that switch would close and those lights would come on. So those lights never came on, which means that switch never closed. Right? So now we need to go look and find what turns on the spinner relay. So here is the spinner relay, and so one side of it is connected to power. And what makes this side connect to power? So the power goes back. This switch here, this is just a way for the spinner relay to hold itself on once it's turned on. You'll see that on everything, like the extra relay can hold itself on after it's turned on, right? They all do that. So the spinner relay, what turns it on? Well, the only way it can turn on is through the feature unit, which apparently that those stand-up switches that we were hitting changed the feature unit, so it makes that move around. We looked at that unit on a previous video. So if it's on this side of the feature unit, has a little wiper on it, right? So this is the spider that moves around on the stepper units, right? So this side has a trace that one of the little spiders is touching, and then the other side of the spider is touching these little rivets as it moves around. So if it's on what we'll call position 1, you know it's on that part. If it's on position 4, it's on there again, position 6, and position 9. So if it's in any of those positions, it will light up that spinner relay. It will be on basically the spinner relay power. It'll be sending power to that, right? And then if it's on like the second one, it's sending power to the double bonus relay. If it's on the third one, it's sending power to the extra relay, whatever that is. Okay? But it's not enough for that. The power has to connect all the way back to here. So this is C2. That means that it's on the score motor. That's why they have the little circle. That's a switch that's normally open. It's not closed right now. So whenever the score motor starts turning, eventually that switch is going to close. Okay? And if the ball is in the feature hole, on the feature hole switch, which is that hole that we were dropping the ball in, as that turns, it should connect power through that switch on the feature hole, through the feature unit, and turn on the spinner relay, which then should hold itself on through here. It will turn itself off whenever the ball lands in the out hole and pulls the out hole relay in. So, why is this not working? It could be a bad connection on the wiper disc on the feature unit, right? Maybe that connection isn't good. Or it could be this switch, or it could be this C2 switch. So you can go through and just start checking all of that. Well, we already checked all this, and it looked kind of good. It still might be the problem, but we already looked at it once. And then C2, if you look down here, you see it again, the same exact switch. See how it has a red and blue wire on one side, and down here it has a red and blue wire, and then they're both connected over here. So this same switch is used to make the special target unit step-up relay work. Now, when did that happen? Well, remember that captive ball, whenever it says 50 and then it says 1,000 or whatever, and then it moves up to special, remember? We just saw that work. Well, what does that tell us? It tells us that C2 must be fine. And since just by happenstance they use the same exact switch for this part, we know that switch is probably fine. So it gets us down to it's either the feature hole switch, this switch, or it could be that the spinner relay is pulling in, but the switch on the spinner relay itself is messed up. Right? So how could we test that more? Well, we could test this one by seeing if the 500 relay makes it work. So the 500 relay is the one, I looked on the schematics over here, that pulls in whenever the ball drops in the top hole. The top hole makes the 500 relay come on. The feature hole is the one in the middle. So if it works on this switch but not on that switch, you know there's a problem on that switch. If neither one of them make it work, well then we can look at other things, right? So we can probably narrow it down just by doing a little bit of that. So it says lights, spinner, and bumpers. We already figured out that doesn't work. Let's see if it does when you land on the top one. Because look, it says lights, lit, features. Lights, lit, features. It's the same. It works if it lands in that one. But it doesn't work if it lands in that one. So if this switch closes, it works fine. So that means this is fine, everything's fine. This is fine. But if it lands in here, it doesn't work. So we need to find that switch, adjust it, and it'll fix it. Okay, so there are the two switches on the feature hole. When the ball lands in there, it should press both of the switches, close both of them. One of them is going to make the ball kick back out, and the other one is actually going to score the feature, right? So watch what happens when I push it. See how the switch on the right hits first? And then the one on the left? Well, it seems like what's probably happening is the ball's kicking out, bam, right there before the other switch ever even touches. So I'm going to adjust this switch actually out a little bit so the ball has to settle a little more, which will give the other switch time to close, and make sure they're both clean, and that should fix the issue. All right, so that did not fix it. So how do we figure out what will fix it? Well, we got to keep looking, okay? So one thing that I've noticed since we started working on it is that the ball, as soon as you land in that hole, it immediately kicks the ball back out. You saw how it's been doing that, right? And I was making jokes that the engineer who did that was, you know, probably high or something. But it doesn't seem like they would have done it that way, right? And they can slow that down by making the score motor do it. So anyway, so let's look at that a little bit more. Okay, so the ball lands in the hole and it closes the feature hole switch. Now remember, it does it on the top one or the bottom one. When it closes that switch, there's two switches. Well, one of the switches is the one over on the feature unit that we were looking at that actually makes the logic work. And the other one is this one. So this switch closes and it turns on the feature hole relay, which stays on as long as the switch on E1 has not opened. See how that's normally closed? So as it's just sitting there, ball lands in there, that switch is closed. When you land in the feature hole switch, on the feature hole switch, it will immediately turn on the feature hole relay. Now if the ball leaves that switch, the feature hole relay will hold itself on through this switch. So what turns it off? What turns it off is whenever that switch opens on the score motor. Okay? So when the ball pulls in the feature hole relay, the feature hole relay has a switch on it that turns on the score motor. So it starts the motor turning. So at some point it's going to open up switch E1, which is going to kill the feature hole relay. Okay, now you see how it goes. right? So whenever it gets to that spot eventually, that's what makes that switch turn off, okay? So, what am I thinking here? What's the next part of it? Okay, yeah. So, what makes the ball kick out? See, it's immediately kicking out. A switch on the feature hole relay makes the feature hole kickout coil happen. But only when switch E6, which is normally open, closes. Ours is doing it immediately, as if E6 is immediately closed, right? So how do you figure out how that's supposed to be? Okay, so we've got several switches here. We've got E6 on the score motor. That is supposed to be open, but it closes at some time, which makes the ball kick out. We've got E1 that is closed the whole time, but at some point it opens, which makes the coil that is being held on to kick the ball out turn off. And then over here we've also got C2, which needs to close at some point to make our scoring feature work, right? So this is not happening before the ball kicks out. That's our problem. The timing is messed up. Now, timing is a very interesting thing because it's confusing as hell. But once you kind of see how it works, it makes sense. So here are the cams on the score unit, and they are drawn in their resting position, okay? So here's the cam, and it turns counterclockwise. Okay, so there's switch C2. That's the one that we need to close to make the scoring work. Now you see how it's up on the top of this cam here? So as long as it's on top of that cam, that switch will never close. So this is going to turn around, and when it gets to right here, almost at the end of its, so there's three positions. There's three home positions. That home position is just a little past the drop, right? So it's going to turn, 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 and then whenever this gets over to it, it's going to drop, close the switches, and then lift it back up again and open it again and turn a little bit more, right? So it's just past the end of its, the little drop is at maybe, so if this is 100% of its arc or whatever, it's at like maybe, I can't do numbers like that, it'll be confusing as hell. But towards the end of its cycle is when the scoring actually happens, right? So our other one was E1. So here's E1. See how that one's closed. Whenever it opens, it will kill the thing that kicks the ball out, right? You see how it's a little bit closer to the divot in the cam? That's closer than that one. So it will happen, it will open just after that happens. This is hard to wrap your mind around, but it's like a timing thing. C2 will drop in this hole before E1 drops in that hole. And the way you can tell that is because as it sits, look how it's drawn. C2 is a little farther back. It's just how it's mounted. So C2 is going to happen before E1 changes position, okay? And then our other one was E6, okay? If I can find it. E6. So E6 is open, but it should close right at the end. It should close about the same time that E1 falls out. So it should kick the ball out of the hole right around the same time that E1 turns off the feature relay, right? It's all a timing thing. So E6, as it sits right now, should be open, but it's doing it almost immediately. It's kicking the ball out. So this is starting to turn, and it shouldn't kick the ball out until this turns this all the way around here to make this drop in and that close. It's a timing thing, right? So there's something messed up, likely with switch E6. So here is switch E6. It's this one, and it's closed. It's because, see that little spacer there? There should be another spacer here that's going to push that open when this bar is as it is right now. So it should be open like that. Looks like there's maybe a couple of them missing. It should be like that. And then whenever it turns around and this little bar drops down in here, then it closes like this, and that will eject the ball. On ours, it's ejecting it immediately because this isn't open right now. So that's our problem. That's also the problem why it's ejecting the ball immediately out of the top one too. So I'm going to put a little spacer in there, fix it, and we'll go from there. You see over here, see all these spacers? How there's a whole row of them? There's one missing from this one. Look at that. Nice new shiny one. Now you might say, where in the world did you get that? You can buy them new. Bam! That's how it ought to be. Come on now. Come on, people. If the thing... Come on now, people. If the little plastic piece... People, you can't just throw that... If you're working on the game and if the little plastic piece falls up... Come on, people. Come on now. You can't just do it like... This should have been fixed in 1978, people. Come on now. Come on now. I mean, you're making me figure it out all these years later. I even went over it one time and didn't see it. But you can't make the... Come on, people. It's not right. I don't know why it had... Like, how long did they leave it like this? Because it's just a little piece of... I mean, you could have glued like a little piece of wood. Come on, people. Come on now. I mean... Come on now. I mean, what, you're just playing it and playing it. It's going, yeah, why would you do that? Come on, people. Come on now. All right. So we should get completely different behavior out of our eject holes now. Right? So it's lit. Here we go. Much better. Wasn't that beautiful? You want to see it again? Wow. Wow. Let's see if the top one's the same. Now watch out. It might go, yeah. That's how it ought to be does, people. Come on now. Why would they leave it like that? I knew something was up. I knew it. Try to tell me I knew. Come on now. Okay, so we got that. So it lights the spinners of the bumpers. Now after all this time, we get to check and see if that actually works. 1,000 points when lit. Boom. Other one. Boom. Same as it ever was. Okay. Did you hear that? Something fell in the back room. 1,000 when lit. It's beautiful, people. It's a gorgeous thing. Okay. That's giving us 100 points. That one's giving us 100 points. Also giving us 100 points. Do you notice nothing's beeping? There's no beeping or booping happening. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Lights double bonus. So when I land in there, it should light up double bonus, which is this light. There we go. We got a little bit of a double eject happening. So that's working. Let's try another one. Light spinners and bumpers again. Okay, so if I do it this time, it should light the extra lanes and light the feature hole, which would be that one, and then the extra lanes would be these, and they probably bounce back and forth with the change. Lit that one. Didn't light one of these. Maybe one of the bulbs is burnt out. Let's see if we can get it to change. There we go. Oh, maybe it's on the change because they're lit now. Okay. All right. Lights feature hole, lights extra lane. All right. I think everything's pretty cool with that. We need to do the bonus and see if we score it. Okay, so that's 14,000, and it's a double bonus when lit. 17,200. We're going to hit this one first, though, because extra when lit, I think that probably means that you get an extra ball. Boom. And it advances the bonus, which it did. Okay, so now we're at 15, and it's a double, so we should get 30. So we're at 17,2. We should end up with 47-2, and it should stay at ball and play number 1 because we've got an extra ball. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Same player shoots again. Now, that will stay on until the ball hits something on the playfield or this index switch that we were talking about. Click. Click, click. What haven't we tested? You know what? I think we've tested everything. We just need to play it a little bit. Oh! How could I forget? The doorbell isn't working. I think everything's working except the doorbell, and that change thing is still kind of... Now, on the previous video, we had written down that the score reels weren't resetting very well. The hundreds here and the hundreds here. But the hundreds seems to have cleared up, so it could have just been a thing where I put them back together a little wrong, and once they started turning, they got better. But we're still watching that. So we got to watch that. We have to watch our change thing. Which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And we need to figure out what's up with the chimes. So let's figure out what makes the doorbell work. Okay, so it looks like there's 4 ways to make noise. The single chime, as they're calling it, that must be the one that just goes the one way, and then the double chime hits both of them. The single chime is turned on by the 10 to 90 relay, so switch on it, and the 100 relay, switch on it. The double chime is turned on by the thousands relay, or the bonus unit end of stroke switch. I think we were messing with that one earlier, and we got it to work, but the other 3 weren't. So, but the bonus one's not working now either. It's not doing anything. So let's see if we can test any of those 4 switches and see what's the deal. Maybe they're stuck again or something. Okay, folks, so we're back to our doorbell chimes. Okay, so basically there's a separate winding on the transformer to send 14 volts. They mark it as 12 volts, but it's measuring 14 volts over to the door chimes. Now this is like a 12 volt doorbell chime for your house. They still make these. I can get a replacement, it looks like, for like 25 bucks because they're in like most chime doorbells. Okay, but what fun would that be? So I'm trying to fix the one that was in it. So one of them was working, but it was kind of sticking and stuff. So I took it back apart. I got it much cleaner where it looks like it moves a lot better. Now the other one, the reason it wasn't working is because there was a wire broke right at the top of the coil for that plunger. So what I did was I started unwinding the other wire off of the spool, and I pulled a whole ton of it off. And after I got down about halfway, I found the other end of the wire and was able to pull it out so I can solder it back in place. But now I have to rewrap the coil, which might work well and it might not. So we'll see how it looks after I get it all done. It's probably going to be, you know, much uglier than that one. But if I can get it back together and the thing have both ends of the wire, I should be able to save it and get it to work. Got to save that 20 bucks, you know. It'll only take me 3 or 4 hours probably to do it. That's a good trade-off, isn't it? All right, it wasn't that bad. It only took about 15 minutes. So the wire coming from the machine, this orange wire, is the power. That's the 12 volts. And then the game grounds either this coil or this coil. So this one was working but weak. This one wasn't working at all. Figured out it was because this wire was broken. It was broke off right at the spool. So I unwound it about halfway to where I could find a little tip and pull it out. And then I pulled it out this far and then wound it all back. So if I nicked the wire anywhere in there, it's not really a problem unless you have it laying right up against another wire that's nicked. You know what I mean? So we're going to test it here in a minute to see. But hopefully I didn't expose enough of the copper and the wires to screw it all up. But it's all coated, so that's how it's not shorted together, right? So I'm going to solder this back to the plate where it goes. You can see that coil. One end of the wire goes out to that screw, and the other end of the wire goes to the power. And this one wire goes to the power, and then the other end of the wire will go up here. Okay, so if I measure resistance between the power and the one coil, the one that was working, 6.4 ohms resistance around the whole thing, right? If I measure between the new one that we rigged up and the power, 5.8, baby. That's within what you call the ballpark. That's within the ballpark, baby. It's going to be just fine, people. Now, don't freak out. It's going to be just fine. Now, if you wanted to make it louder, you could probably take some of those windings off and then make the wire shorter and then make it stronger. I don't know. Hopefully this will work. So I'm going to try to clean these up a little better so that they do their thing. But this is all we're going for right here. I mean, it's as good as it's going to sound. There's not much to it. All right, we got it mounted back in. Now, on the bottom of the bonus unit, there is an end of stroke switch. Boom! That makes noise. On the back, there is a 100 relay, 1000 relay, and 10 relay. Look at that. Look at that. So that's the one, and that's the double. That's as good as it gets, people, on a Chicago coin, or a Stern. Okay, so I need to mess with the score reels a little bit, and then I think we're about ready to play it and see how the flippers are and stuff like that. All right, folks, we got some little minor stuff still, but we're going to play it a little bit. I don't have it perfectly leveled yet either, so I think it's pulling this way a little bit. Lit the double bonus. It's going to try to do it again, but it can't. You can only light something once, you know. But we're getting those points at least. Boy, those door chimes sound good, I think. That's not bad. Looks like this game you can go in and out of the bullhorns a lot. I got to hit the captive ball and hit the spinner. There's the spinner, but didn't quite make it all the way through. Nope. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Now we get some points. That's what we needed. See my change work there? And then back the other way too. Oh! It slid it right by me. I hate playing them with the glass off. Why do you people do me like this? Force me to play it the way I don't like, with the lights on and the glass off. Ugh. Change work. Oh, not quite. Not quite. Better luck next time, sucker. There we go. Whew, that's smooth. Well, now I got to find another one of these so I can copy all of those PCBs. I think I'm going to go ahead and make copies of them. And I'm going to email Stern and ask them if they think that's cool. I'll bet they'll give me the okay. Because they don't do EM stuff. They probably won't have no problem with it. There you go. Get it. Get it, boy. Ooh, not quite. Okay, now we're at lights, feature hole, and lights extra lane. She's playing pretty good, though. It's playing pretty good, people. Nice. The flippers are fine. For me, at least. I'm not much of a shot. Oh, with the little backhand slap through there. I totally intended to do that. I haven't been watching the change thing. It changed. It changed back. I mean, come on, people. I can't get it much better than working. Come on. Come on now, people. I'll tell you what I think the problem is with that change thing. If you didn't watch the previous video, you missed all that problem. I'll tell you the problem with that change thing. I think it's a design flaw. I love Stern. I love Chicago Coin. I think they didn't quite get that right. I bet they all do that. Yeah, I said it. I'll bet they all do that. Now, if all of you that are big pinball fans don't want to buy the Sterns and the Chicago Coins because you don't think they're good enough, that's fine with me. It'll just leave more for me to buy cheap. I like it. Boy, it's going to be much better with the glass on, though. If you don't know, games play a lot better with the glass on. A lot better. Twice as good. It just changes the sound, the feel of it. All right, we're about to the end here, folks. We got 3 balls left. I'm playing a 4-player game, by the way. Just testing everything out. Make sure everything scores. Oh, they stole it from me. All right, so leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. I'll probably film another video of us playing it, and I have a surprise. I'm going to do a review of a product that you are going to love. You're going to say, I am so glad that you did a review of that product. Now, you might think that that's ridiculous. There's no way that you'll be glad that I did a review of a product. But I'm telling you, I've got a product coming up that I'm going to review that you're going to be amazed by. All right, last ball. Boom. Oh, come on now. Come on now. All right, for Caldwell, returning the lights out. To hell with all you people that don't like them with the lights out. That's what it looks like with the lights out. All right, so leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think so far. Well, it looks a little dark. I should brighten it up so you don't think that it looks like that here in person. There you go. That's what it looks like. Someone the other day told me I was a fool for playing it in the dark. This dumbass actually said, "You're a fool." That was his wording. Are you kidding me, buddy? I'm not telling you you're a fool for playing it with the lights on. I don't give a damn how you play it. You can play with the lights on and let me play it the way I want to play it. Come on, people. What the hell? I can't even hardly talk and you're making me argue with you. That's all right, though. I'm sure he's still watching. He just ain't commenting anymore. You know why that is, right? Block. Okay, so leave your comments down below, even the nasty ones, so I know who to block. Make sure to give me a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. And by the way, just so we're clear, I want to be real clear about this. I love Chicago Coin. They were around since like 1935 or something, people. They were around for 40 freaking years. They made game after game after game after game after game. And why did they do it? To make money and make people happy doing it. Don't tell me anything bad about Chicago Coin. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And now Stern's been around trying it for another 40 years. Right? So I don't want to hear any negative crap about Chicago Coin ain't as good as Gottlieb and all this crap. Keep it to yourself. Now, when you see this one for sale, you might not like it as much as you like one of the bigger companies. But I kind of like the weird ones like this that you don't see all that often, you know? It's just something different, just a way to see how another company did it. I mean, this company actually put a freaking doorbell as the chimes in the game. That's interesting to me. That may have not been better than Gottlieb's awesome chimes or Bally's great bells or whatever, you know? But it's interesting. I'll tell you one thing, just so you feel at ease, okay? Immediately after this game, now remember this was the first one Stern did. The first thing Stern did was they got rid of the doorbells and they built a chime box out of wood blocks. You hear the train in the background? They built a chime box out of wooden blocks. If you look at pictures of like a disco or a pinball, they actually have an actual chime box in it. So that was the first thing that they wanted to upgrade. But for what it is, for the time period, it needs to have this in it. I wouldn't upgrade it and put a different setup in it for nothing. I might put a brand new chime box in it because you can get, a brand new doorbell box because you can get it for 20 bucks. That's kind of cool. But these technically are chimes. You saw it's got 2 chime bars that it hits. So I kind of like it. I think it's cool. It's quirky. It's part of the design of the game. You know, if you make this one have the same chimes that all the other ones do, then what the hell's the point, you know, of fixing an old game? We're not trying to make it play like I don't even know what the newest one is out, Godzilla. We're not trying to make it play like the new Godzilla. That's for the new Godzilla to do. We're trying to make this one play like Rawhide played in 1977. And I think it's a cool little game. Cool to me. And you know what? We sell them, and I will have zero problem selling this. We will sell it as soon as we put it available for sale. Because it's like that now. People love pinball machines. They love all of them. This one's probably not the most collectible one, but it is the first Stern pinball machine. Well, besides Stampede. But, you know, the first Stern layout, right? So I think that's cool. I love it. I think it's a great game. I give it a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed it.